is a quiet truth behind every great transformation. Not a loud secret, not a complicated ritual, but a simple inner decision that changes everything. Louise did not become wealthy by chasing money. She became wealthy by changing who she was being, and behind that shift was a subtle teaching passed down from a mentor few people truly understood, Abdullah. He taught something so powerful, so life-altering, that it was rarely spoken aloud, because once you truly grasp it, your life can never remain the same. You must assume the end before the evidence, because life does not respond to what you are waiting to see. It responds to what you have already accepted as true within yourself. Most people delay their peace, their confidence, their joy, and their sense of abundance until the outer world gives them permission. They say, when it happens, then I will feel secure. But the law works in reverse. You feel secure first, and then it happens. To assume the end means you stop negotiating with reality. You stop checking the outside world for signs, timelines, or approval. You make an inner decision that what you desire is already settled. Not hoped for, not wished for. Settled. When this assumption becomes natural, the nervous system relaxes, the mind quiets, and the heart opens. And from that calm inner knowing, life begins to rearrange itself. This is why effort alone never creates lasting change. You can work harder, plan more, and try endlessly, yet still feel stuck if your inner state is rooted in doubt or waiting. Assumption is different. Assumption is an identity shift. It is when you move from, I want this, to, this is who I am now. The moment you occupy the feeling of the fulfilled desire, you stop chasing and start attracting. At first, the mind may resist. It will point to bank balances, circumstances, past disappointments, and unfinished stories. But assuming the end does not mean denying reality in fear. It means choosing a higher truth with calm confidence. You are not fighting what is, you are simply refusing to let it define you. The outer world is always a reflection of earlier assumptions. If you keep consulting it, you stay trapped in the past. When you assume the end, your emotional posture changes. You breathe differently. You speak differently. You make choices from ease rather than desperation. You no longer send mixed signals to life. There is coherence between what you feel, think, and expect, and coherence is powerful. It is the state in which manifestation becomes effortless because there is no inner resistance left to overcome. This assumption is not forced positivity. It is quiet knowing. It is not repeating words while secretly feeling afraid. It is allowing yourself to feel the relief, safety, and gratitude that would be present if your desire were already fulfilled. You practice the feeling until it becomes familiar. And what feels familiar becomes normal. What becomes normal becomes permanent. Many people wait for confidence before they act, but confidence comes from assumption, not proof. You do not gain confidence by seeing success. You see success because you allowed yourself to feel confident first. The same is true with abundance, love, health, and freedom. The inner state always precedes the outer expression. Assuming the end also dissolves impatience. When something is done within you, there is no urgency. You stop counting days and watching clocks. You stop asking when. You rest. And rest is a powerful signal. It tells life that you trust the process. Trust accelerates outcomes far more than anxiety ever could. There will be moments when the world challenges your assumption. This is not a sign of failure. It is a test of identity. Do you return to old reactions, or do you remain loyal to the inner state you have chosen? Each time you stay aligned with the fulfilled feeling instead of reacting, you strengthen the assumption. And assumptions, when sustained, harden into fact. You do not need to visualize constantly or affirm obsessively. Once the assumption is made, you live from it naturally. You make decisions from self-respect. You allow opportunities without forcing them. You stop tolerating what contradicts your inner truth. This is how the unseen becomes seen, through embodiment, not effort. The world always catches up to those who no longer wait for permission to feel complete. When you assume the end, you give yourself what you were asking life to give you. And life mirrors that self, giving back to you in form, timing, and circumstance. You are not here to prove your worth, earn your abundance, or convince reality of your dreams. You are here to accept them as already yours. The moment you do, the search ends. And when the search ends, the receiving begins. Stop asking, because asking keeps you anchored in the identity of someone who does not yet have. Asking subtly affirms lack. It reinforces the belief that what you desire exists somewhere outside of you, controlled by timing, conditions, or permission. When you keep asking, you are telling life again and again, I am not there yet. And life faithfully mirrors that assumption back to you. Living from it is a different state of being. It is not a technique or a ritual. It is an inner posture. It is the quiet decision to move, think, and feel as the version of you for whom the desire is already fulfilled. When you live from it, you stop reaching outward and start responding inward. You no longer speak to life as a beggar, but as a participant in creation. Asking is rooted in effort. Living from it is rooted in certainty. Effort strains the nervous system and keeps the mind searching for proof. Certainty relaxes the body and aligns the emotions. And when the body is calm and the emotions are settled, you become receptive. Receptivity is what allows change to flow in without force. Many people believe they must constantly remind the universe of what they want. But life does not need reminders. It responds to embodiment. The universe listens to who you are being, not what you are requesting. When you live from the fulfilled state, your choices naturally change. You stop making decisions from fear, urgency, or scarcity. You choose from trust, self-respect, and quiet confidence. Living from it means you no longer wait for external validation to feel worthy. You do not wait for money to feel secure, for love to feel complete, or for success to feel capable. You grant yourself these feelings now. And when you do, your actions become clean. They are no longer driven by the need to prove or chase. They are inspired, measured, and aligned. At first, this shift may feel unfamiliar. The mind will question it. It will say, how can I live from something that hasn't happened yet? But the truth is, you live from assumptions every day. If you assume rejection, you act guarded. If you assume struggle, you act tense. Living from fulfillment is simply choosing a new assumption, one that serves you rather than limits you. This does not mean pretending or forcing joy. It means allowing yourself to experience the inner relief that would exist if the desire were already resolved. Relief is the signal. When the inner question disappears, when the constant asking quiets, you have moved into living from it. From that place, life responds more quickly because there is no inner contradiction. When you stop asking, you also stop chasing. Chasing communicates need, and need pushes things away. Living from it communicates wholeness, and wholeness attracts. You begin to notice that opportunities arrive without strain. Conversations flow more easily. Solutions appear naturally. This is not coincidence, it is alignment. Living from it also changes how you handle setbacks. When something does not immediately reflect your assumption, you do not collapse into doubt. You remain anchored. You understand that the outer world lags behind inner decisions. You no longer react emotionally to temporary appearances. Reaction feeds the old state. Non-reaction sustains the new one. You do not need to announce your assumption or convince anyone else of it. Living from it is quiet. It is internal. It is expressed through calm boundaries, self-trust, and patience. You move through the world with less explanation and more presence. And presence is magnetic. As you continue living from the fulfilled state, the desire loses its intensity, not because it disappears, but because it is no longer absent within you. The longing dissolves, the asking stops, and in that stillness, the manifestation completes itself. Life responds fastest when you stop requesting and start receiving internally. The moment you live from the end, you signal that you trust the process. Trust removes resistance. And when resistance dissolves, reality has no reason to delay. You were never meant to beg life for what aligns with your true nature. You were meant to embody it. The moment you do, the outer world begins to reflect what you have already chosen to live from. Feel first, because feeling is the language through which life understands you. Before words, before actions, before results, there is an emotional state quietly shaping everything you experience. Most people try to change their lives by controlling circumstances, yet remain unaware that circumstances are only echoes of feelings they have already practiced within themselves. When you feel first, you step into the true cause rather than reacting to the effect. Feelings are not reactions to life, they are instructions to it. Whatever you consistently feel teaches your subconscious what to expect and teaches the world how to respond. If you wait for results before allowing yourself to feel safe, confident, loved, or abundant, you lock yourself into delay. The outer world can only mirror what you have already accepted emotionally. Results follow feelings, never the other way around. Feeling first does not mean forcing happiness or denying pain. It means choosing the emotional tone that would naturally exist if your desire were already fulfilled. If something were resolved, there would be relief. If something were complete, there would be calm. If something were aligned, there would be ease. These feelings are accessible now without permission from circumstances. The body responds immediately to emotion. When you feel fear or lack, the body tightens. When you feel trust and safety, the body relaxes. A relaxed body sends a powerful signal of allowance. It tells life that you are ready to receive. Tension blocks flow. Ease invites it. This is why effort alone feels exhausting, while aligned action feels natural. Many people confuse emotion with motivation. They believe they must stay emotionally charged or intense to create change. But intensity is often a sign of resistance. The feeling that manifests results is not excitement or force, it is familiarity. When a desired outcome feels normal inside you, it becomes inevitable outside you. Feeling first also reprograms the subconscious mind. The subconscious does not understand logic or timelines. It understands repetition and emotion. When you repeatedly feel supported, worthy, and capable, the subconscious accepts this as truth. Once accepted, it guides behavior, perception, and opportunity automatically. You no longer have to think your way into success. You are moved toward it naturally. This is why affirmations only work when they evoke feeling. Words without emotion are empty. But a sentence felt deeply becomes an instruction. Even a few moments a day of genuinely feeling the end state can shift your entire trajectory. You do not need long rituals. You need sincerity. When you feel first, your reactions change. You stop overanalyzing. You stop interpreting delays as rejection. You stop questioning your worth. You respond from steadiness instead of urgency, and that steadiness is powerful. It communicates self-trust, and self-trust attracts cooperation from life. Feeling first also shortens the distance between desire and fulfillment. The emotional gap closes. When the gap closes, there is nothing left to bridge. The mind stops searching, and in that stillness, solutions appear. You begin to notice opportunities that were always present, but invisible to a mind preoccupied with lack. There will be moments when the outer world contradicts your chosen feeling. This is natural. The world is reflecting older emotional patterns. Your task is not to fight the reflection, but to remain loyal to the new state. Each time you choose calm over panic, trust over doubt, and allowance over control, you reinforce the emotional instruction you are sending. Feeling first is an act of self-permission. It is giving yourself the emotional reward without demanding proof. And this act changes your relationship with desire. Desire no longer feels heavy or urgent. It becomes light, neutral, and inevitable. When desire loses urgency, it gains power. You do not need to wait for the perfect moment to feel better. Feeling better is the perfect moment. From that place, inspired action arises naturally. Not rushed, not forced, not desperate, but aligned. Life does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you feel you already have. When you master your emotional state, results follow as a consequence, not a struggle. You were never meant to chase outcomes. You were meant to embody the feeling that creates them. Do not argue with reality, because arguing keeps you bound to what you are trying to outgrow. When you resist, complain, analyze, or emotionally react to what is, you give it attention, and attention is energy. Reality does not change because you fight it. It changes when you stop feeding it. Ignoring what no longer serves you is not denial, it is wisdom. Most people believe that acknowledging a problem repeatedly will solve it. They talk about it, replay it, justify their pain, and seek validation for their struggle. But every time you do this, you reinforce the identity of someone trapped inside that condition. Reality reflects identity, not arguments. The more you engage with what you dislike, the more you anchor yourself in it. Ignoring reality does not mean pretending nothing exists. It means refusing to emotionally invest in appearances that contradict the inner state you are choosing. You allow facts to exist without letting them define you. You stop reacting. And reaction is what gives circumstances their power. When you argue with reality, you are saying, "This has authority over me." You hand your nervous system to external conditions and let them dictate your inner world. Ignoring reality is the act of reclaiming that authority. It is deciding that your emotional state will no longer be negotiated with circumstances. The outer world is always delayed feedback. What you see today is the result of earlier beliefs, assumptions, and emotional patterns. Fighting it is like arguing with yesterday. It cannot respond. It can only dissolve when you stop identifying with it. The moment you detach emotionally, you interrupt the cycle. Ignoring reality is a quiet inner shift. It is choosing silence over commentary. You stop narrating your problems to yourself. You stop explaining why things are the way they are. You stop justifying disappointment. In that silence, new assumptions have space to take root. This practice requires discipline, not force. The mind will try to pull you back into reaction. It will point to evidence, urgency, and fear. But each time you choose not to engage, you weaken the old pattern. Over time, the circumstances lose their emotional charge, and what loses charge loses influence. When you no longer argue with reality, your energy becomes clean. You stop leaking power into frustration and resistance. That energy returns to you as clarity, intuition, and calm decision-making. You begin to move differently. You make choices without emotional weight. And those choices produce different outcomes. Ignoring reality also strengthens trust. You learn to trust your inner direction more than external noise. You stop needing reassurance. You stop seeking permission to feel better. You stop allowing appearances to determine your mood. This is not avoidance, it is emotional mastery. There is a subtle difference between ignoring and suppressing. Suppression is fear-based. Ignoring is confidence-based. You are not pushing feelings away, you are refusing to amplify them. You acknowledge emotion, then release it without building a story around it. Stories keep reality alive. Silence lets it fade. When challenges arise, you respond with neutrality instead of drama. Neutrality is powerful. It signals that you are no longer available for the old experience. Life responds quickly to neutrality because there is no resistance to slow things down. As you continue ignoring what contradicts your chosen inner state, reality begins to shift. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but inevitably. Circumstances rearrange because there is no longer emotional fuel sustaining the old pattern. What you stop reacting to cannot stay the same. You will notice that peace arrives before change. This is always the order. First, the inner conflict ends. Then the outer conflict resolves. Peace is not the reward, it is the cause. Do not argue with reality. Arguing keeps you entangled. Ignore it with calm certainty and choose a higher inner truth. What you refuse to energize will fade. What you consistently embody will become real. Identity is the real secret expended into 750 words without heading. Identity is the real secret because everything in your life flows from who you believe you are. Not what you want. Not what you try to do. But what you quietly accept as your true self. Your identity is the lens through which you see the world, and the world responds to that lens without question. Change the lens, and the picture must change. Most people attempt to improve their lives by changing behaviors, habits, or circumstances, yet they leave their identity untouched. They try to earn confidence, chase abundance, or prove worthiness, all while carrying the inner label of someone who lacks, struggles, or waits. As long as that label remains, every effort will feel heavy and temporary. Identity always overrides effort. Your identity is built from assumptions you repeat emotionally. Every time you think, "This is just how my life is," you reinforce it. Every time you say, "I am not that kind of person," you draw a boundary around your potential. These statements may feel harmless, but they quietly shape what feels possible for you. And what feels possible becomes what you allow. When identity shifts, behavior changes without force. A person who sees themselves as capable naturally takes aligned action. A person who sees themselves as supported moves with trust. A person who sees themselves as valuable sets boundaries without guilt. They do not try to act this way. It is simply how they respond. This is why identity is the root cause, not motivation or discipline. You do not attract what you desire. You attract what matches your self-concept. Life is not responding to your wishes. It is responding to your self-definition. If you see yourself as someone who must struggle, opportunities will come with resistance. If you see yourself as someone who is guided and supported, solutions appear with ease. The same world, different identity, different experience. Changing identity does not require dramatic declarations or public announcements. It begins internally in how you speak to yourself, how you interpret events, and what you tolerate. It is a quiet shift from "this always happens to me" to "this no longer defines me." Identity changes through repetition, not intensity. Many people wait for results to confirm a new identity, but identity must come first. You become confident before success, not after. You become abundant before money appears, not because it does. The outer world is always late. Identity is always early. At first, the new identity may feel unfamiliar. The mind may resist and say, "This is not who you are." But unfamiliar does not mean untrue. It simply means you have not practiced it long enough. Every identity was once new. Familiarity is created through consistency, not proof. As you embody a new identity, you will notice a subtle discomfort when old patterns try to return. This is not failure, it is growth. The discomfort means the old identity no longer fits. When you honor that discomfort instead of retreating, the shift becomes permanent. Identity also determines what you notice. When you change who you are being, your perception sharpens. You see opportunities that were always there, but invisible to the old self. You hear guidance you previously ignored. Life has not changed. You have. You do not need to fix yourself to change your identity. You need to choose it. Identity is not earned. It is assumed. The moment you assume a new self-concept, life begins to organize around it. Not instantly, but inevitably. The real secret is not manifestation techniques, affirmations, or visualization. Those are tools. Identity is the foundation. When the foundation shifts, everything built upon it must follow. You are not here to become someone else. You are here to release outdated definitions of yourself. When you do, life responds not with struggle, but with alignment. Identity is the source. Everything else is a reflection. Trust the law more than appearances. Expend it into 750-word without heading. Trust the law more than appearances, because appearances are temporary echoes, not final truths. What you see around you is not a verdict on your future. It is evidence of past assumptions still playing out. If you allow appearances to dominate your focus, you surrender your power to yesterday. But when you trust the law, the unseen order that responds to belief, feeling, and identity, you place your trust where real change begins. Appearances are persuasive because they are loud. They demand attention. They trigger emotion. They invite reaction. The law, by contrast, is quiet. It works beneath the surface, rearranging conditions long before anything becomes visible. This is why faith feels unnatural at first. You are asked to trust something you cannot yet see. But every meaningful creation follows this pattern: first the unseen decision, then the visible result. When you trust appearances, you react. Reaction reinforces the very conditions you wish to change. You panic when numbers don't match expectations. You doubt when timing feels slow. You retreat when circumstances challenge your desire. In doing so, you align with the old state instead of the new one. Trusting the law requires a different response: steadiness in the face of contradiction. The law responds to consistency, not urgency. It does not hurry because you worry, and it does not delay because you rest. It simply mirrors your dominant inner state over time. When you trust the law more than appearances, you stop trying to force outcomes. You allow the process to unfold while remaining loyal to your inner knowing. This trust is not passive. It is active inner alignment. You continue to think, feel, and choose from the end state even when evidence suggests otherwise. You do not deny what you see. You simply refuse to let it redefine who you are. You understand that the world is catching up, not pushing back. Every appearance has a lifespan. It exists only as long as it is emotionally fed. When you stop reacting, the appearance weakens. When you stop interpreting delay as failure, the law accelerates. Calm persistence is more powerful than emotional intensity. Trusting the law also requires releasing the need for constant reassurance. You stop asking, "Is this working?" You stop scanning for signs. You stop measuring progress daily. These habits signal doubt. Trust signals readiness. When you trust, you live as though the outcome is inevitable. And inevitability changes how you move. You will be tested. Appearances will sometimes contradict your inner decision sharply. This is not punishment, it is refinement. The question becomes, will you let what you see override what you know? Each time you choose trust over reaction, you strengthen the signal you are sending. The law responds to that strength. Trust also brings peace before results. This is the order. First, inner calm, then external confirmation. If you wait for the world to calm you, you will wait indefinitely. When you calm yourself, the world follows. The law does not require perfection. It requires loyalty. You may have moments of doubt, but what matters is where you return. Each return to trust resets the direction. Over time, trust becomes natural. You stop bracing for disappointment. You stop protecting yourself from hope. You allow life to meet you halfway. Appearances are not enemies. They are teachers. They reveal where your trust still wavers. When you see them this way, they lose their power to intimidate. You learn to observe without absorbing. You witness without reacting. When you trust the law more than appearances, you stop living in survival mode. You live in alignment. You move with patience, confidence, and quiet expectation. And eventually, without drama, the appearances change. Not because you fought them, but because you outgrew them. The law never fails. Only attention shifts. Place your trust in what is constant, not what is temporary. What you trust determines what you experience.